I pull into my parents' driveway at exactly 5:45 p.m., right on schedule. The quiche balances warm against my palm, filling my car with the scent of caramelized onions and Gruyere. For 9 years, I've never missed a Sunday dinner, not even when the Dearborn account kept me at the office until midnight 3 days straight. Family comes first. That's what Mom always said. Through the windshield, I spot Dad's Lincoln and Mom's Buick, parked neatly side by side as always. But something tightens in my chest when I notice Ellis's mud-splattered pickup truck angled across the far end of the driveway. My brother rarely shows for these dinners, claims his construction business keeps him too busy on weekends. What's the special occasion? I murmur to myself, gathering my purse and the still warm dish. The late afternoon sun casts long shadows across the perfectly trimmed lawn of my childhood home. White clapboard siding, green shutters, brass knocker that Dad polishes every spring. A picture from a 1962nd family sitcom, updated with my mother's prized hydrangea bushes flanking the walkway. I'm halfway to the front porch when voices drift through the partially open kitchen window. The familiar cadence of family conversation pulls me forward, but something in the tone makes me slow my steps. She won't say no. Dad's voice, confident and firm. She never has. But 70,000? For surgery costs? Mom's voice holds a thread of worry. If we time it right, Ellis cuts in. Tell her it's an emergency. Like last time with my investment. My fingers go slack. The quiche wobbles, almost slips from my grasp. I clutch it tighter, feel the aluminum pan bite into my skin. The cold realization washes over me like winter rain. They're talking about me, planning how to ask for money, calculating how to ensure I'll give it. I back away silently, one careful step at a time, as if retreating from a sleeping bear. My breath comes shallow and quick. In the safety of my car, I pull out my phone with trembling fingers and type, "Emergency came up, rain check on dinner." The engine purrs to life, and I'm gone before anyone comes looking. Sunday dinners. For 9 years, I've arranged my entire life around them. Declined weekend conferences that could advance my career. Rescheduled client meetings. Worked 65-hour weeks as senior strategist at Reynolds & Quinn to keep my Sundays sacred. Because family matters most. Memory surfaces like a bubble from dark water. Mom and Dad at my kitchen table 3 years ago, explaining how the roof needed immediate work. 38,000 is a lot, honey, but the whole thing could collapse in the next big rain. I'd written the check that day. The roof never got fixed, but they did redo the kitchen with high-end appliances. I'd noticed, but said nothing. Then Ellis, 8 months later, sweating through his shirt as he explained his can't-miss cryptocurrency venture. Just 15,000 to get in now, Mar. I'll double it in 6 months. I'd transferred the money that afternoon. Never saw a penny back. You're so successful, honey. Mom would say, patting my hand across the Sunday dinner table. We're just so proud, Dad would add, pouring me another glass of wine. And I believed them. Back in the car, my hands shake on the steering wheel as I drive toward downtown. The harbor glimmers beyond the skyscrapers, catching the last light of day. By the time I turn into the underground garage of my building, my fingers have steadied. In my apartment, I kick off my heels and pull out the files. 9 years of careful documentation. I've always been meticulous with financial records. The expandable folder contains every check, every wire transfer, every loan that was never repaid. I spread them across my dining room table, a mosaic of exploitation. The pattern emerges with painful clarity, the flattery before each request, the manufactured emergencies, the artful guilt if I hesitated. The trembling in my body stops entirely. Coldness settles in its place, not fear, but certainty. I reach for my phone. Geneva? It's Marlowe. Remember that Sydney position we discussed? My parents call 3 times while I'm on the phone with Geneva, then twice more as I methodically review the financial records. They leave identical voicemails, my father's voice warm with concern. Sweetheart, we were expecting you. Your mother made your favorite dessert, the lemon meringue pie with the graham cracker crust, just how you like it. Call us back when you can. I play the messages on speaker while cataloging the total. $147,000 over 9 years. College fund for my niece that never materialized. Emergency gallbladder surgery for Mom that her insurance mysteriously didn't cover. Business expansion loan for Ellis. Roof. Water heater. Basement flooding. My finger hovers over the delete button for each voicemail. The lemon meringue is a nice touch. They know it's my weakness. I'm risking everything, the only family relationships I've maintained through my adult life. My parents, my brother, Sunday dinners, Christmas mornings. The familiar rhythm of family obligation that has defined my existence. They don't miss me. I whisper to the empty apartment as the harbor lights blink on outside my window. They miss their ATM. The next day, at the office, the bank statement lies before me, coffee forgotten at my elbow. I rub my eyes, certain I've misread something. But the evidence remains stubbornly unchanged. A $38,000 withdrawal followed 2 days later by a $36,472 charged to Oceania Cruise Lines. Mediterranean getaway. Master suite. Shore excursions included. I slump in my chair, breath caught in my throat, a physical pain blooming beneath my ribs. The roof that supposedly needed emergency repairs never existed. The crisis that sent me scrambling to liquidate my first major investment bonus was nothing but a vacation plan. My hands move mechanically through the accordion file where I've documented 9 years of financial emergencies. Behind the roof folder sits another labeled, Ellis, Business Investment. I find his bank statements too, statements I should never have had access to except he'd listed me as a reference on a rental application last year. The $15,000 I provided for his can't miss opportunity went directly to Blue Sky Casino to cover markers he'd left unpaid for months. When the email surfaces, an actual email from Mom to Ellis with the subject line approaching Marlowe, something cold and foreign settles in my chest. Remember to mention the kid's future. She always softens when you talk about their college fund. Best to catch her right after work on Wednesday. She'll be tired and less likely to ask too many questions. I sit perfectly still, staring at the screen. This wasn't opportunistic. This wasn't occasional desperation. This was coordinated, deliberate, and ongoing. A family business where I was the only investor and never a shareholder. Marlowe? Geneva's voice breaks my concentration. She stands in my office doorway, Pamela from HR beside her. Are you ready? I nod, closing the laptop. The Sydney transfer paperwork waits on my desk, international relocation forms nearly complete. Geneva takes the chair beside mine while Pamela walks me through tax implications and housing allowances. My phone vibrates against the desk for the 5th time in 20 minutes. Dad again. I silence it without looking. Your brother called the office 3 times today asking for your new cell number. Pamela mentions casually, sliding another form across the desk. I told him company policy prevents us from sharing personal contact information. The pen freezes in my hand. He called here? For my number? 3 times, Pamela confirms. Quite insistent. Said it was a family emergency. Geneva's eyes meet mine. She knows enough, not everything, but enough. There's something else. Geneva says quietly. Your parents contacted our investment division this morning. They attempted to access your retirement accounts, claiming a medical emergency required immediate funds. The room tilts slightly. I grip the edge of my desk. Fortunately, Barbara recognized your name and called me directly. Geneva continues. Whatever's happening, you need space. The company apartment is available immediately if you need it. I nod, a short, jerky movement that feels mechanical. Thank you. I might take you up on that. After they leave, I call my bank. The representative's voice turns cautious when I explain the situation. Miss Greaves, I'm seeing multiple login attempts to your accounts from unrecognized devices. And someone called yesterday claiming to be you, requesting a password reset. That wasn't me? I whisper. We suspected as much, which is why we flagged the account. She hesitates. The caller had your social security number and mother's maiden name. My stomach drops. Ellis. He'd helped with my taxes last spring when I was overwhelmed with the Dearborn account, insisted on it actually. I'd been grateful then. Back at my apartment, I changed the locks. The spare key my parents have from emergencies now opens nothing. I closed the joint checking account they've had access to since my college days, an account I've never bothered to remove them from out of some misplaced sense of trust. The real shock comes when I pull my credit report 2 days later at the bank. 3 loan applications in the past month, all using my information. A mortgage refinance, a car loan, a personal line of credit. The addresses on the applications are my parents' home and Ellis's apartment. My entire life feels suddenly fragile, constructed of nothing but their expectations and my compliance. Every professional achievement undercut by their constant financial drainage. Every boundary I thought existed revealed as nothing but suggestion, easily overstepped when inconvenient. When my attorney Nadine arrives at my office 2 hours later, she listens without interruption, makes notes with sharp, precise movements of her pen. First steps: emergency credit freeze, identity monitoring service, and documentation of every unauthorized attempt. She says finally, "I'll have cease and desist letters drafted by morning." Can they really do this? I ask, hating the tremor in my voice. Nadine meets my eyes directly. Someone close to you has been planning this for years, Marlo. The question isn't what they can do, it's what you're finally ready to do about it. As I changed the locks on my apartment, I wondered, should I confront them immediately with what I'd discovered, or quietly disappear from their lives? Confrontation might provide closure, but silence would protect what little I had left. What would you do when the people who should love you most have been methodically using you for years? That same night, I jolt awake at 3 a.m, my phone vibrating against the nightstand. The screen glows with Ellis's name for the 4th time tonight. I silence it, adding his number to my growing block list. Sleep won't return now. My laptop sits open on the coffee table, spreadsheets of financial damage illuminated in the darkness of my temporary apartment. Geneva arranged it yesterday after Ellis started calling my colleagues. "She's having a breakdown," he told my team at Reynolds and Quinn. "We're organizing an intervention. Family concerns." I'd walked into an emergency meeting with HR the next morning. Linda from accounting looked at me with pity while Peter from legal avoided eye contact entirely. "Your brother has contacted several departments," Geneva explained, her voice steady. "He's worried about your mental health." My stomach twisted. He's lying. I laid out the evidence, the overheard conversation, the financial records, the pattern of extraction. Geneva nodded while taking notes, her face transitioning from concern to cold anger. "I've known you for 7 years, Marlo. You're the most stable person in this building." By afternoon, security had instructions to block my family from entering the building. They came anyway. Rachel's voice crackled through my office phone at 4:17 p.m. "Your parents are in reception. They've brought the photo albums. They're telling everyone you're having some kind of episode." My heart hammered against my ribs. "What are they saying?" "That you've cut contact suddenly, that you're paranoid. They're showing baby pictures to prove they're your parents. Should I call security?" Through the glass walls of my office, I could see Geneva already striding toward reception, shoulders squared. Rachel's voice returned minutes later. "Geneva handled it. Your mother was crying dramatically when security escorted them out." I sank into my chair, hands trembling despite my resolve. "Thank you." "Miss Greaves is unavailable indefinitely," Rachel had told them. I'd never heard sweeter words, but that was just the beginning. The next morning, my college roommate Vanessa called. "Ellis reached out to me on Facebook. He's worried about you. Says you're experiencing paranoia and cutting off family. Do you need help?" Then my neighbor. Then my cousin in Seattle. I discovered credit card charges for subscriptions. I never authorized streaming services, meal deliveries, online gaming platforms. Hours on the phone with fraud departments followed, my voice growing hoarse as I explained again and again. No, I didn't make these purchases. When my bank statement arrived addressed to my parents' home instead of my apartment, the final piece clicked. They'd redirected my mail without consent. I began documenting everything in meticulous detail. Each unauthorized charge, each manipulative message, each attempt to undermine my credibility with friends and colleagues. The evidence filled a dedicated folder on my laptop labeled simply, "Proof." Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford. Each night brought new violations to address, new safeguards to establish. I caught myself checking the locks 3 times before bed, jumping at unexpected sounds outside my door. During a particularly dark night, doubts crept in. Was I overreacting? Had there been misunderstandings I'd overlooked? 9 years of family dinners hung in the balance against the evidence before me. Then Geneva arrived at my door unannounced, takeout bags in hand. "You haven't been eating," she said, brushing past me into the kitchen. "I can tell." She unpacked containers of Thai food while I stood awkwardly in my own temporary kitchen. "My mother did the same to my sister," Geneva said, handing me a plate. "You're not crazy and you're not alone. The Sydney team is excited to meet you." She didn't stay long, but her matter-of-fact support steadied something inside me. 2 days later, my phone rang from a blocked number. Curiosity overcame caution, and I answered. Marlo. Ellis's voice sounded strained. We need to talk. We're talking. It's serious. I'm facing embezzlement charges. I need $270,000 to make this go away, or I'm looking at prison. The audacity stunned me silent. Family helps family, he continued. That's what you've always done. Something broke loose inside me, not fear or guilt, but clarity. I overheard enough. I said, my voice surprisingly calm. I gave you my signing bonus, my savings, and you plan to rob me blind. I'm not helping. You don't understand the pressure. The pressure of what? Gambling debts? Another failed scheme? His tone shifted from confident to desperate. Mom and Dad said you'd help if I mentioned prison. They helped me practice what to say. I hung up, a strange lightness spreading through my chest. The relief of finally saying no felt like shedding a concrete overcoat I'd worn for years. Nadine, my attorney, worked swiftly to establish comprehensive protections with my financial institutions. We're creating a fortress around what's left, she explained, her efficiency comforting. While my family grew increasingly threatening voicemails promising legal action, emails questioning my sanity, my professional network proved their loyalty through concrete actions. Geneva expedited the international transfer paperwork, securing temporary housing in Sydney until I found permanent arrangements. The company apartment has a harbor view, she mentioned casually. You'll need somewhere peaceful to land. Each day brought new strength. I noticed myself standing straighter in meetings, making eye contact without flinching, speaking with renewed conviction. As departure day approached, I methodically prepared each element: legal protections, financial safeguards, career transition documentation. Nadine had gathered evidence of potential identity theft, carefully organizing it for legal countermeasures if necessary. They've given us everything we need to protect you, she noted. Their desperation makes them sloppy. On my final night in the temporary apartment, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. Through the peephole, I saw my mother Doreen standing alone, tears streaming down her face. I took a deep breath and opened the door. I invite my mother into the apartment with a calm I've practiced for days. The space is half-empty boxes stacked by the door, artwork removed from walls, leaving behind rectangles of unfaded paint. Only the essentials remain: a chair for her, one for me, and a coffee table between us like neutral territory. You've already started packing, she says, her voice catching. Her eyes, so similar to mine in shape if not in honesty, scan the barren walls. Yes. I stand near the door, maintaining what Nadine called strategic positioning. The voice recorder app runs silently on my phone, face down on the side table. Would you like some water? She shakes her head, clutching her designer purse bought with the money I gave them for property taxes last spring. I make a mental note to add it to my spreadsheet later. Marlo, honey, there's been a terrible misunderstanding. Her hands flutter to her throat, where a gold necklace I bought her for Christmas catches the afternoon light. Your father and I never meant. The 17th of July, 2022. I interrupt, voice steady. $38,000 for a roof that was never replaced. Her practiced tears falter just for a moment. The contractor. The 3rd of March, 2023. $15,000 for Ellis's business investment that went to his gambling debts. She shifts in her seat, crossing and uncrossing her ankles. You're being clinical about family matters. The 12th of December, 2023. $22,000 for Dad's heart medication that insurance supposedly wouldn't cover. The same month you and Dad took a Caribbean cruise. My mother's face changes, her expression hardening as she realizes I won't be swayed by tears today. She expected emotional vulnerability, the dutiful daughter who always says yes, who crumbles under the weight of family obligation. Instead, she finds a woman who stands tall, whose voice doesn't waver, whose documentation is impeccable. Ellis is in serious trouble, Marlo. Her voice drops to a whisper. He's talking about hurting himself. The legal problems, the embezzlement charges, he needs just one more financial rescue. He's your brother. I retrieve a folder from the desk drawer and slide 2 printed emails across the coffee table. The first, from Ellis to my parents. Mar always caves when I mention feeling desperate. Tell her I'm suicidal, she'll write the check immediately. The second, my father's response. Smart angle. Doreen will handle the approach. My mother's face drains of color. Where did you get those? Her hands shake as she pushes the emails away. The same place I got these. I slide over more documents, screenshots of text messages, bank statements, a timeline of extraction spanning 9 years. You've been planning this for years. She switches tactics with practiced ease. What will people think? The Hendersons, the Millers, everyone will know you abandoned your parents in their golden years. Feel free to tell them everything. I lean forward slightly. I'll share my financial records with those same friends. Let them see exactly how much money you've taken, and what you spent it on. Something crumbles in my mother's expression. Not sadness, the collapse of a strategy that has worked flawlessly for years. You've changed, she says, her voice flat now that manipulation has failed. You're not who we raised you to be. As my mother's tears dried up and her true intentions became clear, I wondered, was completely cutting ties the only way forward? Or should I offer one chance at a relationship without financial support? Sometimes the hardest part isn't leaving, but deciding what to leave open. The doorbell chimes, perfectly on schedule. Miss Greaves? Rachel steps into the apartment with professional efficiency. I'm sorry to interrupt, but your international call with the Sydney office is waiting. They mentioned it's urgent regarding your relocation paperwork. I notice my mother's eyes narrow, calculating. Rachel's arrival isn't a coincidence. Just as Nadine's cease and desist letters are being delivered to my father and Ellis at this exact moment, just as Geneva has implemented security measures preventing any of them from causing a scene at my workplace, my mother stands, gathering her purse with fingers that no longer tremble. Something in her eyes shifts as she realizes I'm not alone, not vulnerable, not without support. For years, they isolated me through obligation. Now, watching Rachel move protectively to my side, my mother sees that strategy has failed too. Your father doesn't know I came, she says at the door, her final card played with desperation. We're selling the house. I say nothing, but my silence speaks volumes. The door closes behind her with a soft click. My phone buzzes with a text from an old family friend. Marlo, your parents are telling concerning stories about you. Is everything all right? Then another from my father's cousin in Oregon. Ellis told me you're refusing to help with his medical bills, but he told Janet it was legal troubles. What's going on? The manipulation machine is breaking down, stories contradicting one another as the truth emerges. Rachel squeezes my shoulder. You did great. For the first time since this family crisis began, I feel something unexpected. Not guilt, not sadness, but the lightness of standing on solid ground, surrounded not by blood relations, but by people who actually care about my well-being. My calendar notification pings. The final departure for Sydney is upcoming. As Rachel leaves, I check my email to find an unexpected legal document has arrived, but that's a battle for tomorrow. 2 days later, the manila envelope lands on my kitchen table with a soft thud. Legal documents peek from the torn edge where I ripped it open, black and white pages stark against the maple wood. I scan the heading, Complaint for Recovery of Unpaid Loans. My parents are suing me. The coffee in my mug grows cold as I page through the hastily assembled lawsuit. Their attorney barely bothered with coherence. One paragraph claims I borrowed money for a business venture, while another insists the funds were for personal use. Dates contradict each other. Amounts fluctuate wildly. On page 4, the truth slips through. My parents emptied their retirement accounts to pay the attorney's retainer. Ellis joined the suit, claiming psychological damage from my abandonment when he needed family most. I noticed the court date with a sharp intake of breath, the exact day of my Sydney departure. Not a coincidence. Classic, I mutter, reaching for my phone. Nadine answers on the second ring. Let me guess, they're suing you. Within an hour, I'm in her office, spreading documents across her desk. Bank statements, emails, recorded conversations where my mother assured me the roof money was an absolute emergency. The evidence file is 6 inches thick. 9 years of meticulous record-keeping I never thought I'd need. Nadine reviews the last document, then removes her reading glasses. This isn't a lawsuit, Marlo. It's harassment. We'll have it dismissed before you even pack your suitcase. Her prediction proves correct. The preliminary hearing lasts 23 minutes 2 days later. The judge, a silver-haired woman with steel-rimmed glasses, barely glances at my parents' attorney before speaking. Counsel, these claims are contradictory on their face. Did you even review this complaint before filing it? Her tone carries the weariness of someone who's seen too many frivolous cases, dismissed with prejudice, and I strongly advise against any further actions of this nature. Standing beside Nadine as the judge exits, I feel something unfamiliar power, not the fleeting satisfaction of being right, but the solid ground of being protected. By my own foresight, by the truth I documented when instinct told me something wasn't right. We could counter-sue, Nadine suggests quietly. Malicious prosecution, harassment, you'd win. I consider it briefly, watching my parents and Ellis huddle with their dejected attorney across the courtroom. No, I decide. I don't want revenge, I want peace. The courtroom empties slowly. Nadine heads to her next appointment with a squeeze of my arm. I gather my belongings, bracing myself for the walk to the parking garage. I don't make it past the hallway. They're waiting by the water fountain, my parents and Ellis. A small ambush party, with my father taking point. After all we've done for you, Harold begins, voice pitched to carry to the bystanders lingering in the corridor. This is how you repay family? His words hang in the air between us. The old Marlowe would have crumbled, offered apologies, maybe even written a check, but she doesn't live here anymore. Without speaking, I open my briefcase and withdraw a cream-colored envelope. I hold it out, and after a moment's hesitation, my father takes it. What's this? He asks, suspicion narrowing his eyes. Everything. I reply, my voice steady. Every check, every wire transfer, every reason you gave me that turned out to be a lie. My mother edges closer as Harold pulls out the spreadsheet. The top line reads, Financial Extractions, 2016 to 2025. Below stretches a detailed accounting. Dates, amounts, stated purposes, actual uses when discovered. The final line shows the total. $276,450. Ellis peers over our father's shoulder. His face drains of color when he sees the sum. Jesus, he whispers. The hallway has grown quiet. A court reporter pauses near the water fountain, pretending not to listen. Two attorneys slow their pace. My family seems to physically diminish under the weight of documented truth. You didn't just lie, I say, my voice carrying in the silence. You coached each other on how to do it. I found the emails where you discussed the best approach to get the surgery money. I meet each pair of eyes in turn. And I always gave because I thought we were a family. But families don't assign victims. I close my briefcase with a soft click and walk past them toward the elevators. No one follows. 2 weeks later, as I complete my packing for Sydney, news trickles through mutual connections. Ellis faces 22 months in federal prison for the embezzlement charges he tried to cover up with my money. My parents are selling their house to pay mounting legal fees, reportedly moving in with a cousin in rural Nevada. The information lands differently than I expected. Not satisfaction, not vindication, just a hollow ache where anger used to live. I wonder, watching the movers load the last of my boxes, if healing is possible once the manipulation is stripped away. Can genuine love grow in soil so poisoned by deceit? The question follows me to the airport, where I check in for my 14-hour flight to a new life. As I settle into the international terminal, my phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. You deserved better. I hope one day we deserve forgiveness. I stare at the screen, boarding pass to Sydney warm in my other hand, and wonder which one of them sent it and if it matters. The morning light spills across my bedroom floor in ribbons of gold and amber. I stretch, savoring the quiet of Sunday morning in my Darling Harbour apartment. 18 months in Sydney, and I still catch my breath at the view sailboats dotting the water like white butterflies against blue silk. My phone remains silent. No desperate texts about broken water heaters or emergency dental work. No calculated guilt trips disguised as family connection. I pull on shorts and a light sweater, grab my book, and head to Rossini's, the corner cafe where Paolo saves my usual table on the terrace. The ritual feels sacred in its simplicity: coffee, with a perfect crema, warm croissant, conversations that expect nothing beyond the pleasure of connection. Morning, Marlowe. Kira waves from her table, auburn hair catching the sunlight. She's our marketing director, brilliant and forthright. Joining us for brunch? I nod, feeling the easy smile that no longer feels like a mask. Wouldn't miss it. At work, my team has just landed the Wellington account, my strategy earning accolades from the Singapore headquarters. but the professional victory feels secondary to yesterday's quiet triumph. Thomas, our new analyst, had confided about his mother's escalating financial emergencies. I recognized the familiar patterns, the calculated timing of requests, the subtle manipulation. "You can help without becoming an ATM," I told him, my voice steady where once it might have wavered. "Here's what I wish someone had told me years ago." Later that afternoon, I whisk egg, cream, and Gruyere in a large bowl, my movements precise and unhurried. The quiche for tonight's dinner party rises golden in my oven, filling the apartment with the scent of caramelized onions. The irony doesn't escape me preparing the same dish I once carried to those Sunday ambushes back home. The doorbell chimes. Geneva arrives first, looking relaxed after her flight from headquarters, hair now streaked with elegant silver. She brings Australian wine and stories of office politics I'm glad to have escaped. "You've created something beautiful here," she says, surveying the harbor. View Terrace, where I've set the table with bright blue placemats and fresh flowers. My colleagues arrive in pairs and small groups. When Simon asks about my family, I answer without the old knot in my stomach. "We're estranged." I say simply, "I learned that family isn't just who you're born to, it's who sees you clearly and values what they see." His nod holds understanding, not pity. I stand taller, making easy eye contact across the table, my laugh coming freely when Kira describes her disastrous virtual date. Later, glasses raised against the backdrop of city lights reflecting on dark water, we toast. "To boundaries that protect peace," Geneva says, eyes meeting mine with quiet understanding. On my laptop screen, Nadine joins from New York, legal briefs visible in her background. She's helped 3 more women navigate financial exploitation since my case. The professional connections that sustained me when blood ties failed have deepened into something richer than obligation. Tuesday evening finds me at the community center, leading a financial literacy workshop for women rebuilding their lives after leaving difficult situations. Their faces reflect my past, the hesitation, the guilt, the fear. But in their questions, I also see my future. Back home, I finally respond to that text from months ago, the one I've read 100 times without answering. "I hope one day you do too." The 3 words feel neither bitter nor triumphant. I already have. Morning breaks over Sydney Harbor in shades of pink and gold. I stand on my balcony, coffee warming my hands, face peaceful and resolute. The weight is gone not just from my bank account, but from my shoulders, my voice, my future. I used to think love meant giving until I realized they only loved what I gave. I didn't leave to punish them. I left to protect what little was left of me. If you discovered your family was using you as their personal ATM, would you confront them directly or walk away quietly like I did? Would you seek closure through confrontation or find peace through distance? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. My wedding ring catches the autumn sunlight as I grip the steering wheel, sending familiar sparkles across the dashboard. 4 days early. The thought brings a smile to my lips as I pass the landmarks I've missed during 11 months abroad: Anderson's Hardware with its perpetually crooked sign, the corner bakery where Logan proposed 15 years ago, St. Michael's, where we exchanged our vows. I touch the Alaska travel brochure tucked in my purse. Logan's dream destination, finally within our reach after I accepted all those extra consulting projects. The thought of his face when I show him the tickets almost makes up for missing our anniversary last month. "Just a few more minutes," I whisper, anticipating building as I turn onto Maple Drive. My mother-in-law Dorothy's colonial-style house comes into view, its crisp white paint gleaming in the late afternoon sun. I slow down, savoring the familiar sight, then freeze. Teal and orange balloons dance in the autumn breeze, dozens of them tied to the porch railings and mailbox. A handmade banner stretches across the front of the house, its careful lettering visible even from the street. "Welcome, baby Lucas." My hands begin to shake. I pull over, my brain refusing to process what I'm seeing. Dorothy doesn't know anyone having a baby. Unless... The passenger side mirror shows 3 cars I recognize. My mother's silver Lexus, Brianna's red Volkswagen, and Logan's black truck. Brianna, my college roommate, my maid of honor, the woman who held my hand through 3 years of fertility treatments and sat with me in the hospital after my miscarriage. My stomach lurches. I park behind a minivan I don't recognize, my movements mechanical. The click of my car door sounds too loud in my ears. Around me, autumn leaves skitter across perfectly manicured lawns, a normal suburban afternoon that suddenly feels like a nightmare. The side door isn't locked. Of course not, Dorothy never locks it during parties. Laughter and conversation spill from the living room, a chorus of familiar voices that twist something sharp in my chest. I move silently through the kitchen, muscle memory guiding my feet around the creaky floorboard near the pantry. The nursery's coming along beautifully, my mother's voice warm with approval. Logan's always been so handy. I stop breathing. He's painting the second floor room this weekend. Brianna's voice, somehow both familiar and foreign. We just couldn't wait any longer. The second floor room. The one I decorated 3 years ago in soft yellows and greens, before the miscarriage that shattered everything. The room I couldn't bear to look at afterward, that Logan promised to keep untouched until I was ready to try again. A teacup sits abandoned on Dorothy's antique sideboard. I pick it up, needing something solid to hold. Through the doorway, I see them all, about 30 guests mingling in the living room. My mother and Dorothy fussing over wrapped presents, and Brianna, perched in Dorothy's favorite armchair, one hand resting on a very pregnant belly. "Here comes Daddy with the paint samples," someone calls out, and Logan appears from the hallway, a fan of color swatches in his hand. He moves behind Brianna's chair, wraps his arms around her shoulders in a gesture so tender it steals my breath. "Just picked out the crib together last week," he says, pride evident in his voice. "One of those modern convertible ones that grows with the baby." The teacup slips from my numb fingers. It hits the hardwood floor with a sharp crack that sounds like breaking bones. Every head turns, every conversation stops. Even the grandfather clock in the corner seems to hold its breath. Logan's face drains of color. "Claire. Honey." My mother's voice high with panic. She reaches for my arm. "Let's talk outside." I step away from her grasping fingers, my shoes crunching on scattered pieces of china. The sound anchors me, keeps me steady as I meet Logan's eyes. "Don't stop the party on my account." My voice emerges calm, almost conversational. Someone gasps, probably Aunt Susan, always one for dramatics. "Claire, I can explain," Logan starts, but his words wobble and die. "Explain what?" The question floats out, cool as winter frost. "How you've been playing house with my best friend while I worked 60-hour weeks overseas." A bitter laugh escapes me. "Or maybe you'd like to explain how I've been paying our $2,100 monthly mortgage while you searched for your passion and apparently found it in my maid of honor." Brianna struggles to stand, her face streaked with tears. "Claire, please. Don't." The word cuts through the air like a blade. "Don't you dare speak to me." The room spins with familiar faces, family. Friends, neighbors, all of them here celebrating this betrayal. All of them knowing, all of them silent. The weight of their collective deceit presses against my chest until I can barely breathe. I think of the video calls at odd hours, checking on Logan between international meetings. The extra consulting projects I took to maintain our lifestyle while he found himself. The Alaska tickets in my purse, bought with bonus money I earned sleeping in foreign hotels and eating airport meals. The irony almost makes me laugh. Almost. I turn on my heel, head high, shoulders straight. The practiced posture of 1,000 corporate presentations now holding me together like invisible armor. "Claire, wait." My mother's heels click rapidly behind me. "Honey, we didn't want to upset you while you were away." I pause at the front door, one hand on the knob. "Well, Mother," I say, each word precise as a surgeon's cut. "Consider me upset now." The door closes behind me with a quiet click. I walk to my car, each step measured and calm. Only when I'm behind the wheel, only when I've turned the corner and Dorothy's house disappears from my rearview mirror, do I allow myself to scream. My phone buzzes for the 47th time since I checked into the Westin. The screen lights up with Logan's name, his smiling face from our last anniversary dinner staring back at me. I place it face down on the nightstand, next to the neat stack of fresh towels the housekeeper brought an hour ago. The hotel room stretches before me, immaculate and impersonal. I unzipped my largest suitcase, the one that accompanied me through 11 months of international airports. Each garment emerges precisely folded, a habit born from countless hotel rooms across 3 continents. I arrange my clothes in the closet by color, sleeve length, and formality. The ritual steadies my hands. A text notification breaks through my do not disturb settings. My mother. The words blur as tears finally spill, hot and unwelcome, onto my cheeks. I sink onto the edge of the king-size bed, my fingers clutching the duvet until my knuckles whiten. Logan's photo still lights up my lock screen. Logan's arms around my waist, my head thrown back in laughter. I can't remember what was so funny. The laptop opens with a soft click. My fingers hover over the folder labeled Suspicions, created 2 months ago when Dorothy's vague responses about Logan's personal growth journey triggered something in my gut. The home security app's footage loads. Brianna's red Volkswagen parked in our driveway at 2:14 p.m. on a Tuesday, again at 11:30 a.m. the following Thursday. 17 more timestamps. Meticulously documented. Logan's text messages scroll past. Working late tonight, don't wait up. Meeting a potential client. Having dinner with the guys. Each lie cataloged, dated, screenshot. Below them, credit card statements tell their own story. Purchases at Pottery Barn Kids, Bye Bye Baby, a high-end children's boutique downtown. My throat constricts as I open our family group chat. Cryptic messages surface like evidence at a crime scene. The situation is delicate. We need to handle this carefully. Claire's so busy with work. It's better this way. Photos from Easter brunch, Thanksgiving dinner, casual Sunday gathering celebrations I missed while earning the money that funded them. Brianna appears in each one, her pregnancy progressing through the seasons like a time-lapse video of betrayal. A message from my mother to Logan stops my scrolling. We're handling Claire as best we can. The words swim before my eyes, decades of family loyalty reduced to conspiracy. A knock at the door startles me. Through the peephole, I see my father, his tall frame stooped with what looks like the weight of years rather than age. When I open the door, his eyes are red-rimmed behind his wire-rimmed glasses. I told them this was wrong, he says simply. The dam breaks. I collapse into his arms like I'm 7 years old again, falling off my first bicycle. His cardigan smells like pipe tobacco and old books, the scent of Sunday afternoons in his university office. They stopped inviting me to family dinners, he murmurs into my hair. Said I was being difficult, making things uncomfortable for everyone. I pull back, wiping my eyes with the heel of my hand. I have something to show you. The laptop screen illuminates his face as I walk him through my digital archive of destruction. His mouth sets in a grim line with each new revelation. The next morning, Barbara's office feels more like a war room than a law practice. The stern-faced attorney in her 60s spreads my financial records across her mahogany desk like battle plans. Mortgage statements, utility bills, property taxes. Barbara's silver reading glasses catch the light as she nods approvingly. All in your name, all paid from your accounts. She taps a manicured nail against Logan's sparse work history. He doesn't have a leg to stand on. The divorce papers feel weightier than their 20 pages should allow. My signature flows across each marked line, the same Mont Blanc pen I've used to sign million-dollar contracts now dissolving my marriage in precise strokes. We'll file first thing tomorrow, Barbara assures me, sliding the papers into a leather folder. Given the documentation and your sole ownership of the house, we can have him out by month's end. I pick up my phone, my finger hovering over Logan's number. The message is brief. Contact my lawyer. Block contact, delete thread. The action feels like cauterizing a wound. Later that day, my mother arrived as I was reviewing property listings online. Her rapid knock echoed through the hotel corridor. Claire Elizabeth Wilson, open this door immediately. I take my time walking to the door, smooth my hair, adjust my collar. She bursts in like a storm front, designer handbag swinging. "You can't throw away 15 years of marriage," she declares, hands planted on her hips. "What will people think?" I didn't throw it away. My voice remains steady, a skill honed in boardrooms. He did. "You'll regret this when you're alone at our age." Her lips purse, the same expression she wore through my teenage rebellions. I mean her eyes. "Like you regret staying with Dad after his affair 30 years ago?" The color drains from her face. For the first time in my life, my mother has nothing to say. My phone buzzes again. Logan's 12th new number this week. I click the screen without reading the message, adding it to my blocked list with the others. Through my hotel window, morning sunlight bathes the parking lot where security removed him yesterday, his hands raised in surrender as he stumbled backward, still calling my name. The bouquet he sent fills the room with a cloying sweetness. Pink roses. He always forgets I prefer white. The card trembles in my fingers. "For the baby's sake, please." Such careful penmanship, as if beautiful handwriting could mask ugly choices. "Another delivery at the front desk, Miss Morgan." The concierge's voice crackles through my room phone. "Would you like me to send it back?" My voice stays steady, practiced from a dozen similar calls. "And Patricia? It's time to update the restricted visitors list." I pull up my banking app, muscle memory carrying my fingers through the familiar steps. Logan's name vanishes from our joint credit card with a single tap. Next comes Netflix, then Spotify, then our shared cell phone plan. Each digital severance feels like cutting a string, watching a balloon drift away into the endless blue. The diner's bell chimes as I push through the door, breathing in the familiar scent of coffee and bacon. Dad sits in our usual booth, his crossword puzzle already half finished. His eyes crinkle behind wire-rimmed glasses as I slide into the cracked vinyl seat. "You look better this week," he folds his newspaper with careful precision. "Less shadows under your eyes. Dr. Martin says I'm processing well." I stir cream into my coffee, watching it cloud the dark liquid. She specializes in betrayal trauma. It's like a house fire, you can't save everything, but you can choose what to carry out. Dad nods, his silence a comfortable blanket. "We developed this ritual 3 weeks ago. Wednesday breakfast, far from the family haunts where Mom might corner us with her lectures about forgiveness and second chances. Catherine called last night. The words slip out between sips of coffee. She has a guest room in Portland, says the consulting firm's West Coast office is expanding. Portland. Dad tests the word like a new flavor. That's a fresh start if I ever heard one. My phone lights up. Logan's sister Rachel. "Just so you know, I get it. What they did. I couldn't look Mom in the eye for weeks after I found out. Call if you need anything." A laugh bubbles up, surprising us both. Dad raises an eyebrow. "Logan took a job delivering packages." I show him the text. "Guess that philosophy degree finally came in handy." His startled chuckle mingles with mine, the first real laughter I've felt in weeks. Outside, an elderly couple walks past hand in hand, matching gray heads bent together in conversation. Something twists in my chest, not quite pain, not quite longing. I carried him for years. The words emerge slowly, weighted with realization. Through the failed art gallery, the unfinished novel, the yoga teacher training he abandoned after 2 classes. I thought I was being supportive, but you were just enabling. Dad's voice holds judgment, only understanding. My journal lies open on the table between us, its pages filled with the neat handwriting I inherited from him. Today's entry stares up at me. "I've been alone in my marriage for years. Now I'm just alone on paper." After that difficult conversation with my father, I find myself facing another reality of my new situation. The financial advisor's office smells like leather and lemon polish. Martha peers at my retirement accounts over silver-rimmed glasses, her gray curls bouncing as she nods. The financial advisor's office smells like leather and lemon polish. Martha peers at my retirement accounts over silver-rimmed glasses, her gray curls bouncing as she nods. We'll move everything into your name only. Her fingers tap efficiently across the keyboard. The prenup you signed actually works in your favor here. Have you thought about the Portland position? I pull up the email from my boss. They're offering partner tracks, better benefits, higher base salary. And distance. Martha's eyes meet mine knowingly. Distance is worth its weight in gold. My LinkedIn profile glows on my phone screen. The cursor blinks where Pierce used to be, waiting. I type Morgan with steady fingers, letting my maiden name reclaim its space. The house key feels foreign in my hand as I park in the empty driveway. Logan's delivery shift ends for hours. Inside, the silence wraps around me like an old sweater, familiar but ill-fitting now. My heels click across hardwood as I walk room by room, cataloging what's mine. The living room Artal purchased with my bonuses. The kitchen remodel I paid for last spring. The master bedroom where the nursery door stands ajar. Yellow walls I painted myself 3 years ago peek through the gap. My hand trembles on the doorknob. 1 breath. 2. I push it open. Teal and orange stripes replace my careful neutrals. A half-assembled crib leans against one wall, its instructions scattered across the floor like fallen leaves. I close the door without stepping inside. In the master bedroom, I collect only what matters most. Mom's pearls, my first business cards, and the photo album from before. The wedding dress hangs in its garment bag like a ghost. I leave it there, a silk and lace monument to what's already dead. The fluorescent lights of Marshall's pharmacy hum overhead as I study cold medicine labels. A sharp intake of breath makes me turn. Brianna stands frozen in the vitamin aisle, one hand resting on her swollen belly. Tears fill her eyes. Claire, please. Her voice cracks. It just happened. We never meant. Nothing just happens for 7 months. My words slice through her excuses with surgical precision. He loves me. She steps forward, desperation etching lines around her mouth. But he needs your forgiveness to move on. We both do. I return the cold medicine to its shelf, suddenly too tired for this conversation. Then I guess he'll never move on. The next morning, the envelope from Logan's lawyer lands on my desk with a soft thud. Barbara's reading glasses perch on her nose as she scans the contents, her smile growing wider with each page. He's contesting the divorce. I slump in my chair. Claiming he deserves alimony since I was the primary earner. This, Barbara taps the papers with one manicured nail, is actually good news for us. I blink. How is this good news? Because, she spreads the documents like playing cards. He just handed us exactly what we needed. By claiming he supported your career, by maintaining the home, he opened the door for us to present evidence of exactly how little maintenance he did. Your records of paying every bill, his string of abandoned projects, the mortgage solely in your name. Her smile turns predatory. He doesn't realize it yet, but he just lost everything. The steering wheel feels cool under my palms as I park across the street from what used to be our home. 3 months since I walked in on that baby shower, and the autumn trees have shed their leaves, leaving skeletal branches against a pewter sky. A sheriff's deputy stands on my front porch beside a man in a charcoal suit, clutching a leather portfolio. Right on schedule. Logan opens the door in wrinkled khakis and an untucked Oxford shirt, his hair sticking up like he just rolled out of bed. Behind him, Brianna hovers in the foyer, one hand resting on her swollen belly. The sight no longer twists my stomach the way it did 3 months ago. What's going on? Logan's voice carries across the quiet street. Who are you people? The deputy adjusts his stance. Sir, we're here to serve an eviction notice. The mortgage on this property hasn't been paid in 3 months. Eviction? Logan's face drains of color. This is my home. You can't. His eyes scan the street and lock onto my car. He jabs a finger in my direction. She's right there. She's doing this. The bank representative clears his throat, opening his portfolio. Mr. Pierce, according to our records, the property is solely in Miss Morgan's name, without payment or written agreement. You vindictive bitch! Logan starts down the front steps. The deputy moves to intercept him, one hand raised. "Sir, please stay calm." Brianna waddles onto the porch, her floral maternity dress fluttering in the November wind. "Claire." Her voice cracks. "Claire, please. You can't do this to us. Have some compassion. Think about the baby." I roll down my window 2 inches, just enough for my voice to carry. "I hope Logan knows how to drive for Uber." The words float across the steady and clear. "Because you're going to need it." I watch them pack through my windshield garbage bags of clothes, boxes of baby items, Brianna crying as she cradles a stuffed giraffe against her chest. Logan slams the trunk of his car 3 times before it latches over their hastily gathered belongings. When they drive away, I wait exactly 5 minutes before walking up the familiar path to my front door. The key slides home with a soft click. Inside, the air hangs stale and heavy with traces of Brianna's vanilla perfume. Signs of their life together litter every surface. Prenatal vitamins on the kitchen counter. A pregnancy book splayed open on the coffee table. Logan's attempt at organizing shows in the crooked stack of mail by the door, bills mixed with baby shower cards. In the living room, dust coats the mantel where our wedding photo used to sit. A new frame has taken its place, Logan and Brianna at what looks like a doctor's appointment, both beaming at a sonogram printout. I pick it up, considering its weight. Then I open the empty fireplace and let it fall. The glass cracks with a satisfying crunch. My phone buzzes. Dorothy's name flashes on the screen. "How dare you?" Her voice trembles with rage when I answer. "You're destroying a family. Do you understand what you're doing?" "Dorothy." I run my finger through the dust on the mantel, drawing a clean line. "Your son wrecked his own home when he moved his pregnant girlfriend into it. No one will take your side in this. The whole family stands with Logan." A laugh bubbles up from somewhere deep in my chest. "They already didn't. Or did you forget hosting his baby shower while I was overseas?" I end the call and move through the house, opening windows. Fresh air rushes in, carrying the crisp scent of approaching winter. In the kitchen, I find a pile of male baby shower invitations with my name scratched out, a sympathy card from my colleagues at the consulting firm, an email printed out from a mutual friend warning Logan that I've turned vindictive. The doorbell rings. Barbara stands on the porch, her silver hair gleaming in the afternoon sun, a thick folder tucked under her arm. The judge laughed. "What?" "Logan's alimony claim." She steps inside, her practical pumps clicking on the hardwood floor. "When I showed the documentation of your income covering all expenses while he found himself." The judge actually laughed out loud. Shortest hearing I've had in 20 years of practice. The signed dismissal feels light in my hands. Just a few pieces of paper ending 15 years of marriage. I trace the judge's signature with my fingertip, remembering the weight of my own signature on our marriage license, the promises we made that day in St. Michael's Passage. "You did the right thing," Barbara says softly. I look around the empty living room, at the space Logan and Brianna tried to fill with their new life, while the ghost of my old one lingered in every corner. I know. The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning, Logan's familiar handwriting slanting across the cream envelope. Claire ran her thumb across her name, written without her married tightly, a small detail that might have hurt months ago. She settled into the window seat, autumn sunlight warming her shoulders as she unfolded 3 pages of desperate pleading. Logan's words stumbled over each other, ink smeared in places where his hand must have shaken. "I know I messed up, Claire, but she seduced me. You were gone so much, working all those hours, and Brianna understood how lonely I was." Claire's lips curved into a smile devoid of warmth. Of course he'd blame Brianna now. She fed the pages into her new shredder, watching them turn to confetti. The sound reminded her of applause. A knock at the front door interrupted her thoughts. Through the peephole, she spotted her mother and Aunt Susan on the porch, clutching what looked suspiciously like a devotional book. "Claire, honey?" Her mother's voice carried through the door. "We know you're home." Claire counted to 10 before opening the door, remembering Dr. Martin's advice about setting boundaries. "This is unexpected. We brought tea." Aunt Susan held up a tin of Earl Grey like a peace offering. And some spiritual guidance. 5 minutes later, they were sitting in Claire's pristine living room, steam rising from delicate cups she'd bought to replace the wedding china. Her mother kept sneaking glances at the empty walls where family photos once hung. "We've been praying about your situation," Aunt Susan began, flipping open a well-worn Bible. Yellow highlighter marked several passages about forgiveness. Claire sipped her tea, letting the familiar bergamot calm her nerves. "How thoughtful." "Marriage is sacred," her mother added, hands twisting in her lap. 15 years, Claire. That's not something you throw away lightly. I didn't throw it away. Claire set down her cup with precise control. Logan did that when he gave away our nursery to another woman's child. Her mother flinched. Aunt Susan rustled through more highlighted pages. "But forgiveness is between me and God." Claire's voice remained gentle but firm. "Trust is between me and Logan, and that's broken beyond repair." The phone rang before they could argue further. Claire recognized her father's number and excused herself to answer it. "You'll want to sit down for this one, kitten," he said, using her childhood nickname. Claire perched on the edge of her desk. "What happened?" "Brianna had the baby last night. Healthy boy, 8 pounds even." Her father's voice softened. "Logan missed it. He was working a double shift driving for Uber Eats." Claire waited for pain or jealousy to hit. Instead, she felt oddly weightless, like watching storm clouds pass over someone else's house. "They're already fighting about money," her father continued. "Logan can't afford the apartment they rented." "Karma works faster than lawyers sometimes," Claire murmured. The next revelation came over lunch with Catherine at their favorite bistro. Sunlight sparkled off the wine glasses as her friend leaned forward, voice low with delicious scandal. "Brianna filed for divorce yesterday," Catherine reported. "She's asking for $500 a month in child support." Claire's laugh surprised them both. "On his delivery salary? Good luck." "What goes around really does come back." Catherine raised her glass in a toast. "Sometimes it brings friends," Claire agreed, clinking glasses. The next week, the estate sale drew more neighbors than Claire expected. They drifted through her driveway like vultures, picking over the bones of her marriage. The wedding china went first, then the anniversary gifts, then the vacation souvenirs. Each sale felt like cutting another thread that had tied her down. Mrs. Anderson from next door bought the leather armchair Logan always claimed as his spot, even though Claire's salary had paid for it. "Such a shame about your situation, dear." "The situation improved drastically once I removed it," Claire replied, counting out the change. A familiar black truck crawled past the house, Logan's face visible behind the wheel. He watched people carry away pieces of their shared life but didn't stop. Claire turned back to her cash box, refusing to give him the satisfaction of her attention. Finally, after 2 weeks of preparations, the Portland apartment felt like a fresh page in a new journal. Sunlight poured through uncurtained windows as Claire walked the empty rooms with her realtor, measuring spaces in her mind. "Will anyone be joining you, Mrs. Pierce?" The realtor's pen hovered over her clipboard. "It's Miss Morgan now." Claire smiled, studying the kitchen's clean lines. "And no, just me." She'd already chosen new furniture, ordered to her exact specifications. No compromises, no consulting anyone else's taste. The thought sent a shiver of pleasure down her spine. The final legal notice arrived by certified mail. Logan appealed the divorce settlement, claiming he supported her career by maintaining their home during her business trips. Claire's laugh echoed in the empty apartment. Barbara, her lawyer, sounded positively gleeful on the phone. "The judge took one look at our documentation and dismissed it. You kept every receipt, every bank statement, every corporate reimbursement form. It's beautiful. I learned to document everything after the first time he lost our tax records," Claire said. The final hearing passed quickly. Claire wore her lucky blazer, the one she saved for closing million-dollar deals. Logan's shoulders hunched in an ill-fitting suit as the judge systematically dismantled his claims. The court finds no evidence of material contribution to household expenses or career advancement, the judge concluded. Petition for appeal denied. Claire walked past Logan without a glance, her heels tapping a victory march on the courthouse floor. She felt his eyes following her, but his gaze held no more power than a shadow at noon. Outside, autumn painted the trees in triumphant colors. Claire tilted her face to the sun, breathing in air that tasted like freedom. Her phone buzzed with a text from her father. "Proud of you, kitten." She smiled, typing back, "Taking myself to dinner to celebrate. Love you." Later that night, the hostess at her favorite restaurant led her to a quiet corner table. "Just one tonight?" Claire ordered champagne, remembering all the times she'd eaten alone in hotel rooms while paying Logan's bills. "Just one," she confirmed. "And that's exactly perfect." The breeze carries the scent of fresh paint through my Portland apartment as I adjust the angle of my latest watercolor, a sunrise over Mount Hood captured during last week's painting class. Beside it hangs a photo from my solo trip to Denali, my smile genuine as I stand against the backdrop of snow-capped peaks. No trace remains of the life I left behind a year ago, not even a stray coffee mug or forgotten book. I step back, checking the alignment. The morning light streams through windows I insisted on when choosing this place, catching the crystal vase where fresh peonies bloom. Friday's flowers, my weekly gift to myself. My phone buzzes. Dad's smiling face fills the screen as I answer. "The book club loved your recommendation," he says, his voice carrying the warmth I've come to associate with his new retirement community. Though Martha thinks Hemingway was a bit of a blowhard. Martha's not wrong. I curl into my favorite reading chair, the leather still stiff and new. "How's the arthritis?" "Better since I started those Tai Chi classes. Speaking of which, Dr. Martin thinks I should try it too." "Oh?" I trace the chair's armrest, remembering our last session. "We're focusing on future plans now." She says I'm ready. "You are." The pride in his voice wraps around me like a blanket. "You always were stronger than you knew." My phone pings with a text notification. Brianna's name appears, and my stomach tightens. Not with pain anymore, just weary recognition. "Dad, I need to go. Talk next week?" After we hang up, I open the message. I know I have no right to ask. The words blur as I read about Logan's missed child support payments, about her struggles with baby Lucas. My finger hovers over the delete button. Instead, I type, "I wish you and Lucas well, but our paths diverged a year ago." Send, block, breathe. The kitchen timer chimes. The scent of roasting turkey fills the apartment as I check the oven. 6 friends coming for Thanksgiving dinner. My first time hosting since the divorce. No wrestling with Logan's mother's dry stuffing recipe or enduring his complaints about my cranberry sauce being too tart. My father arrives first, his silver hair neatly combed, carrying a bottle of my favorite Pinot Noir. As others filter in, the apartment fills with conversation and laughter. No tension, no unspoken judgments, no careful treading around difficult subjects. Dad raises his glass. To new traditions and second chances. The words settle in my chest, warm and right. I look around my table, friends who know me only as I am now, not as Logan's wife or the woman who walked away. The absence of old pain surprises me. Like a wound that's finally scarred over, leaving only the memory of its sting. Later that week, I found the travel agent's letter in my mailbox. The Alaska cruise confirmation makes my hands tremble, but not from fear. 7 days exploring the Inside Passage, all the places Logan and I once planned to see together. I pin the itinerary to my refrigerator, right next to my promotion announcement and the watercolor class schedule. The morning of departure dawns clear and cool. I stand at the Portland Harbor, watching the sunrise paint the water in shades of pearl and gold. My wedding ring weighs heavy in my pocket. I'd found it last night while packing, tucked away in a drawer I rarely open. Seagulls wheel overhead as I pull it out. The sapphire catches the light, sparking memories of a younger woman who wore it with such hope. I kiss it once, gently, then draw my arm back. The ring arcs through the air, catching one final glimmer of sunlight before disappearing beneath the waves. Fair winds and following seas, I whisper, the old sailor's blessing feeling right on my tongue. The cruise ship towers before me, pristine white against the morning sky. The captain greets me with a warm smile as I board, my single suitcase rolling smoothly behind me. I explore the decks with unhurried steps, noting the library, the art studio, the dining room where I'll sit with strangers who might become friends. In my cabin, I unpack my journal, leather-bound, a gift to myself when I signed the lease on the Portland apartment. The blank page waits, clean and full of possibility. Like the horizon stretching endless and bright before the ship's bow. Like the life I've chosen to write for myself one word at a time.